Hi everyone, I'm Nancy, and thank you for taking the time to view part 4 of my literacy intervention project. So for my project, I focused on building fluency through sight word instruction, and I will explain more so how sight word instruction builds reading fluency later on in the presentation. So I did my project on my actual students, but these are their pseudonyms, not their real names. All my students are in second grade. They all demonstrate a need for sight word instruction. One of them is an English learner. All of them can identify most, if not all, of their uppercase and lowercase letters. They know most of their letter sounds, and two of them, Elijah and James, can sound out and blend some CVC words. And all of them have a behavior intervention plan for either aggression or functional communication or coping strategies, if not all. So these are graphs of my students' baseline performance and where I want them to eventually be. So all of my students, when presented with 30 words from the kindergarten foundational reading skills word list, or also known as VERSA, they are able to identify the presented words with less than 34% accuracy. So they all demonstrate a need for this intervention. And while they are working on their intervention goal, which is identifying sight words, with 83% accuracy at the end of instruction, they will also work on other literacy areas such as letter sounds and blending. So why sight words? So research has shown that sight word instruction increases students' confidence in reading. It motivates them to read new texts, and it reduces frustration in reading because a lot of sight words or English word they don't follow the regular grammar rules, and they are undecodable. So learning those words will reduce the students' frustration, and it will also help them focus on reading more challenging words, such as words with more syllables or more letters or more complex spelling. And sight word instruction also builds reading fluency so that students can finally focus on the meaning of text. So instead of focusing on identifying words, they can finally focus on the meaning of what they are reading. So each session will typically look like this. It will have an input where I provide the objective, the reason for the instruction, and connecting the lesson to my students' environment, or give them real-life examples. Each session will have modeling, where I show students what I want them to do, checking for understanding, guided practice, independent practice, closure, and depending on the session, it will have an informal assessment and each session will either be in a small group setting or one-on-one. So here's a video of the one-on-one session that I have with my student. I connected the lesson to a past class activity. I gave him a reason for the lesson. I engaged him by having him bring his library book and pointing out the sight words. I modeled what I wanted him to do. I checked for understanding. I had a guided practice where I read the words with my student, and he had an independent practice as well, where he completed a worksheet and there was a closure to the lesson. Oh. All right, sorry, that wasn't supposed to happen. All right, and here's the pre-assessment that I did on my students. I recorded the words that they identified incorrectly. So after I collect data, I can then, either through anecdotal notes or this way, I then transfer them to a data sheet. And each data sheet would typically look like this. It's not so it won't be 30 trials for every session. If we only do 5 trials, of course, we will only count those 5 trials, and we will count, the number of words they identified correctly out of 5. So that is how we will be collecting data. And the materials that we need for the lessons would be a word list, flashcards, worksheets, where they have to color in the sight words that they find with either colored pencil or crayons, a document, camera, and projector if I were to do a lesson with a small group. And for assessment, you'd only need flashcards and data sheets. And that is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions or comments or feedback, feel free to post it on our discussion board. Thank you.